Samir leaned against the railing of the small supply ship Wanderer, watching the royal planet of Zoran slowly grow larger in the viewport. The world shimmered with a soft green glow, its atmosphere rich and bright. He had been sent only to repair damaged navigation equipment at one of the outer ports, a quick job, nothing unusual. He didn't expect to even see the palace, much less set foot inside it. "Stay close to me when we land," said Lena, the captain of the Wanderer. "This is not a place where humans usually walk around freely. The Zoran Empire respects trade, but they're proud, very proud." Samir nodded. "I'm only here to fix a beacon. In and out. No trouble." He carried a simple toolkit on his belt and wore a plain gray jacket. Nothing about him suggested importance. He was just an engineer, someone who preferred machines over politics. But the royal port was different from the usual stations. Huge towers of glass and crystal rose into the clouds, guarded by soldiers wearing silver armor. Even the landing pads glowed faintly, as if alive. The moment Samir stepped off the ship, the air felt strangely heavy, like a gentle hand pressing on his shoulders. Dozens of alien attendants lined the platform. They were tall, graceful, with deep teal blue skin and sharp golden eyes. They looked at Samir curiously, as though trying to place his face in a memory they didn't have. An officer named Oren, who wore a ceremonial sash, greeted Lena first. "Welcome to Zoran's capital. Your cargo will be unloaded by our crew." Then his eyes moved to Samir. "And this is?" "Engineer," Lena replied quickly. "Here to repair the beacon in Bay 3. Shouldn't take more than an hour." Oren studied Samir for a long moment but said nothing. He motioned for two guards to escort them through the shining halls. As they walked, Samir couldn't stop looking around. The palace port was filled with moving crystal panels that changed color as they passed. Streams of light ran along the walls like water. Every sound seemed to echo softly, as though the building itself listened to them. They entered a vast chamber with a high arched ceiling. In the center stood a throne of pale stone, and before it, to Samir's surprise, stood the Queen of Zoran herself. Queen Vero was taller than the others, her teal blue skin marked with faint silver lines that glimmered like starlight. Her eyes locked onto Samir the instant he stepped inside. The chamber grew quiet. Even Lena froze. This was clearly not a normal inspection. Samir bowed awkwardly, unsure what else to do. Greetings, Your Majesty," he muttered. But then something happened no one expected. The Queen's golden eyes widened. She walked down the steps of her throne, each movement slow and deliberate. Everyone in the chamber held their breath. When she reached Samir, she did not speak, she knelt. The sound of her armor brushing the floor sent a shiver through the hall. Samir blinked in shock. "Wait, what are you?" Before he could finish, Oren and the other guards dropped to one knee as well, following their queen's lead. Even Lena stood speechless, her mouth open. The queen spoke softly, in a voice that carried through the hall. "The heir of the signal has come." Samir glanced around, confused. "I think there's been a mistake. I'm just an engineer." But the guards moved forward, surrounding him in a protective circle. Not threatening, more like they were guarding him from unseen danger. The queen rose gracefully and looked at Oren. "Take him to the guest wing," she commanded. "No harm must come to him." Samir tried to protest. "Look, I only came to fix a beacon." "I don't know what you're talking about," but no one seemed to hear him. The attendants whispered to each other in their own language, glancing at him as if he were some long-lost figure from an old story. Within minutes, Samir was guided through another set of glittering halls and placed inside a spacious chamber with tall windows and silk curtains. There was no lock on the door, no weapons pointed at him, just silent respect. Lena was not allowed to follow. "Don't worry," Oren told her, "your captain will be safe." Safe? Samir wasn't sure about that. He had never seen a queen kneel to anyone before, let alone to him. He walked to the window, looking out over the city below, endless crystal spires glowing under the twin moons. What just happened? He whispered to himself. Why me? A soft chime rang out. A palace attendant entered, bowing deeply. The queen will speak with you soon, she said. Rest. You are honored here. Samir sat down on the edge of the bed, still gripping his toolkit like it was a shield. Nothing about this made sense. He was a simple man, with no power, no fame, no royal blood. Yet a ruler of an alien empire had knelt to him, calling him something he had never heard before. The heir of the signal, Samir repeated under his breath. Outside, the distant hum of the planetary power grid echoed faintly, steady for now, but flickering in short waves, as if the entire world were holding its breath. Samir woke to soft golden light spilling through tall windows. For a moment, he forgot he was inside an alien palace. Then he saw the shimmering walls and remembered the queen of an entire world had knelt to him. A soft knock came at the door. An attendant entered carrying a tray of fruit and bread. Breakfast, honored guest, she said, bowing low. I'm not honored, Samir said quickly, trying to sound calm. I'm just confused. The attendant only smiled politely and left without answering. A few minutes later, the door slid open again. It was the officer from yesterday, Oren, wearing his ceremonial sash. He carried no weapon, just a small tablet glowing with symbols. Engineer Samir, Oren said respectfully. The queen will meet you soon. Before that, I should explain why the court is acting this way. Samir crossed his arms. Good. Because none of this makes sense. I came here to fix a beacon, not to get crowned king of something I don't understand. Oren gave a small laugh. You are not being crowned. But you must know, our queen believes you are the heir of the signal. It is an ancient legend among our people. Legend? Samir repeated. You mean a story? Yes, Oren said. Thousands of years ago, long before we had space flight, our records spoke of visitors from a distant blue world, your world, Earth. These visitors shared knowledge with our ancestors, then vanished. But they left behind a warning: one day our star would weaken, our power grids would fail, and only a child of the blue world could repair the ancient resonance. Samir frowned. And you think that's me? The queen feels it, Oren replied simply. We do not question her instincts. Samir shook his head. Look, I fix machines. I'm not some savior. And I definitely don't control stars. Oren's expression turned serious. You may not believe it, but the energy flowing through our cities is not normal electricity. It is drawn from the star itself through a network of living crystals. Lately, the flow has become unstable. Blackouts, strange storms, flickering lights, these are signs of deeper trouble. Samir remembered the faint hum outside his window last night, the way it pulsed like a heartbeat. Before he could ask more, the door opened again. Two guards entered and bowed. The queen is ready to see him, one said. Samir followed them through endless glowing corridors. The palace felt alive, its walls shifting colors as they walked past. Finally, they reached a quiet garden filled with strange flowers that glowed like tiny lanterns. Queen Vera stood near a tall fountain of crystal water. When she saw Samir, she knelt again, not as deeply as yesterday, but still enough to make him uneasy. Please don't do that, Samir said quickly. I'm just a man. I'm not special. Vera rose, her golden eyes calm. To you, perhaps not. But to my people, you are a sign. Our power grid is dying, and you carry the pattern needed to restore it. Samir rubbed his forehead. I don't understand. I don't have any special pattern. The queen touched a panel on the fountain, and a holographic image appeared, a glowing spiral of light. This is our resonance code, she explained. We have searched for generations to find someone whose life pulse matches it. When you stepped into my hall, I felt it instantly. Samir stared at the spiral. Even if that's true, what do you want me to do? Help us stabilize the core, Vera said. If the grid fails completely, cities will fall dark. Crops will die. My people will suffer. Samir hesitated. And if I say no? Vera did not flinch. I will not force you. But I will beg if I must. Those words stunned him. This proud, regal queen begging? It didn't seem real. Samir finally sighed. All right. I'll try to help. But I need to see this crystal network myself. I need to understand how it works. The queen nodded. You will. But know this, not everyone in my court believes you are the heir. Some fear what you represent. If you fail, they will use it against me. Samir frowned. Against you? Why? Because they think I put too much faith in outsiders, Vera said. And they are afraid of change. Before Samir could respond, Oren approached quickly, looking uneasy. Your Majesty, the council is restless. They want to know why this human is treated like royalty. Vera's gaze sharpened. Tell them it is because I command it. Oren bowed but whispered to Samir as they walked back inside, be careful. Not everyone here is your friend. Back in his chamber, Samir sat down hard on the edge of the bed. A queen who thought he was some chosen figure. A power grid tied to a star. Court officials who whispered behind closed doors. I really just came here to fix a beacon, he muttered to himself. Outside, the city lights flickered again just for a moment as if agreeing with his doubts. The crystal garden glowed softly under Zoran's twin moons. Samir followed Queen Vera through winding paths lined with tall glowing flowers. The air smelled faintly of metal and rain. Guards stood at a distance but did not approach. This meeting was private. Vera stopped near a low table carved from a single piece of crystal. She motioned for Samir to sit. I promised you an explanation, she said in a calm voice. Samir lowered himself into the seat, still feeling awkward. Good. Because I'm still trying to figure out why a queen kneels to a stranger. Vera studied him carefully. I knelt because I sensed something in you. A resonance, like an old song I had almost forgotten. Our people believe this resonance can save us. Samir shook his head. You keep saying that, but I'm just an engineer. I fix broken systems. I don't have any magic signal running through me. It is not magic, Vera replied softly. It is science we no longer understand. Long ago, our ancestors built an energy core at the heart of this world. It powers our cities, our ships, even the air we breathe. But the core is unstable now. The alignment that keeps it balanced has drifted. And you think I can fix it? Samir asked. Vera nodded slowly. When you entered the palace, I felt the core react. It pulsed once, as if it recognized you. Samir leaned back. Maybe it's just coincidence. Machines don't recognize people. They follow rules. Perhaps, Vera said, her golden eyes shining in the moonlight. But our records speak of visitors from your world, Earth, who designed the resonance itself. We were told one day a human would return carrying the pattern to restore balance. Samir ran a hand through his hair. Even if that's true, why me? I'm not a scientist who studies stars. I just repair navigation equipment. Perhaps that is why you are perfect, Vera said. You approach problems without pride or politics. You only look for solutions. For a long moment neither of them spoke. In the distance, the faint hum of the planetary grid wavered, like a heartbeat skipping a beat. Samir finally sighed. All right. If I can help, I'll try. But I need to see this energy core. I need to know how it works. You will, Vera promised. Then her expression grew serious. But you must understand not everyone will welcome you. My council is divided. Some fear outsiders. Others fear me. They will try to block you. Samir frowned. Block me? I thought your word was law. In theory, Vera said with a small smile. But even a queen must be careful. If you fail, they will say I trusted the wrong person. They may try to remove me from power. Samir thought about that as they stood to leave the garden. So I'm not just fixing a power grid. I'm walking into your politics. Yes, Vera said simply. And politics can be more dangerous than any broken machine. As they walked back toward the palace, Samir noticed movement in the shadows, figures who watched but did not follow. The queen noticed too but said nothing. Inside the palace hall, Oren was waiting. He looked worried. Your Majesty, there have been strange disturbances near the lower crystal lines. We believe someone is tampering with them. Sabotage? Samir asked. Oren nodded grimly. Possibly. Someone does not want the core stabilized. Vera turned to Samir. Do you still wish to help us? Samir hesitated only a moment. If your whole world depends on it, I can't walk away. That night, Samir was moved to another chamber closer to the heart of the palace. It was quieter, but 2 guards stood outside his door at all times. When he asked if they were there to protect him or watch him, they simply answered, both. Lying awake on the soft bed, Samir tried to make sense of it all. An alien queen who bowed to him. A failing power grid linked to a star. Sabotage inside a royal palace. And somehow he was in the middle of it. Suddenly, the lights in his room flickered. The hum of the power grid wavered, louder this time, and then returned to normal. Samir sat up, heart pounding. Was it just a fluctuation or a warning? The door opened slightly. One of the guards looked in. Are you well, honored guest? Samir nodded slowly. Yeah. Just thinking. The guard bowed and closed the door again. But Samir stayed awake long after the lights settled. Tomorrow, he would see the core of this world. And maybe then he would finally understand why Queen Vera looked at him as if he were more than just a man with a toolkit. The next morning, Samir was escorted to the lower levels of the palace. The hallways there were darker, filled with the steady hum of energy pulsing through transparent walls. Queen Vera walked beside him without speaking, her face calm but tense. This way, Oren said, leading them through a narrow passage into a lift that sank deep underground. We are going to the Nexus chamber. It is the center of our entire power grid. Samir adjusted the strap on his toolkit. And you think I can somehow fix this just by looking at it? Vera gave him a faint smile. The core will show you what it needs. If you are truly the one. The lift doors opened into a cavern lit by enormous crystal pillars. Streams of pale blue light flowed through them like rivers. The air was cool and carried a faint vibration, as though the entire chamber was alive. This is incredible, Samir whispered. It's not like any system I've seen before. The resonance array, Vera explained. It draws power from our star and distributes it across the planet. Without it, our cities would go dark. Samir stepped closer to one of the pillars, studying the flowing light. He could see faint cracks running through the crystal, as if it were straining under invisible pressure. It's unstable, he said quietly. Like it's out of balance. Vera nodded. Can you do anything? I don't know yet. Samir pulled a small scanner from his toolkit and ran it over the surface. The device gave confused readings, as if it couldn't fully understand the material. This is more advanced than anything humans have, he admitted. But energy is energy. If it's leaking or misaligned, there has to be a way to stabilize it. As Samir worked, the entire chamber pulsed suddenly with light. A deep hum rolled through the floor, and several attendants gasped. The crystal pillars dimmed for a moment before brightening again. What was that? Samir asked quickly. The drift, Oren said. It happens more often now. Sometimes whole districts lose power for hours. Vera's gaze never left Samir. And each time, my people grow more afraid. They believe the end is near unless you can help us. Samir turned back to the pillar. I need to see the main control junction, he said. Where all these lines meet. Oren led him to the center of the chamber, a raised platform with a single smooth crystal panel. Samir hesitated before touching it. The moment his hand brushed the surface, the entire array glowed brighter. A soft tone rang through the air, almost like a voice humming. Everyone in the chamber froze. It's responding to you, Vera whispered. I knew it. Samir felt it tingling in his fingers, like static electricity. It's adjusting, he said slowly. But only for a moment. As soon as he lifted his hand, the light dimmed again. Oren looked uneasy. Majesty, this proves the legend. But it also proves our danger. If word spreads too fast, your enemies in the council will act. Samir frowned. Enemies? Why would anyone want this place to fail? Because if the grid collapses, the council can blame me, Vera said calmly. They believe I rely too much on strangers, and they think my reign has grown weak. Samir shook his head. That's insane. If this power fails, your whole planet suffers. Politics can blind even wise people, Vera said. Some would rather see me fall than see the grid repaired. Samir took a deep breath. Then we need to move fast. This isn't just politics. The whole system could shut down if we wait. Vera agreed. You will begin tomorrow. I will arrange for you to access the full array. But you must not be alone. Too many eyes are watching. As they rode the lift back to the upper palace, Samir felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He had never asked to be part of an alien prophecy. He just fixed things. But now the fate of an entire world and its queen depended on him. That night, back in his chamber, Samir reviewed his scanner data. The readings showed unstable currents running through the crystal lines, like a heartbeat skipping its rhythm. He thought about how the array had glowed at his touch, how it almost seemed to recognize him. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Oren entered quietly, his face serious. You must be careful, he said. The council is whispering already. Some say you are here to control the queen, not to help her. Samir frowned. Control her? I don't even know how any of this works. They don't care, Oren said. They see you as a threat. If they cannot stop you openly, they will try to do it in the shadows. Samir sat back, exhaling. Great. So I have to fix a star-powered grid while avoiding people who want me gone. Oren gave a thin smile. Welcome to Zoran politics. Later that night, Samir stood by the window, looking out over the glowing city. For a moment, the lights flickered again, not long, just enough to make the streets go dim before brightening. Somewhere far below, alarms sounded briefly, then stopped. The whole planet felt like it was holding its breath. And Samir knew that tomorrow, when he touched the core again, things would change for better or for worse. The next day, Samir returned to the Nexus chamber. The crystal pillars glowed softly, casting blue reflections on the polished floors. He carried his toolkit, scanners, and a small notebook filled with sketches of the patterns he had seen the day before. Oren and two guards accompanied him, keeping a careful distance. Vera joined him at the entrance. Remember, she said quietly, not everyone in the palace wishes you well. The council is divided. You may face resistance from those who fear change. Samir nodded. I'm not afraid. I just need to understand the system. They walked through the chamber to the main control platform. Samir knelt and ran his scanner along the crystalline lines. Energy pulses traveled faster than his human senses could follow, flickering and twisting in strange patterns. Suddenly, A sharp sound echoed through the chamber, a high-pitched chime that wasn't part of the normal hum. One of the smaller pillars flickered violently. Samir jumped back. "What was that?" he asked. Oren's face tightened. "Sabotage. Someone is interfering with the array." Vera's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Only trusted attendants can access this area." "Not impossible," Oren said. "There are whispers of a faction in the council who believe the prophecy is false. They may try to stop you directly." Samir frowned. "Directly how?" "By tampering with the grid while you work," Oren said. "They hope to make it look like you caused the problem." Samir's heart sank. He hadn't expected to deal with politics along with the energy core. "Then I have to be careful." Vera stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "I will protect you as long as I can. But you must also watch the array yourself. It responds to you. Pay attention." Samir studied the flickering pillar. Its light pulsed strangely, as if reacting to his presence. He reached out, touching the crystal lightly. The pulse steadied. A soft hum filled the chamber, warm and steady. "It's stabilizing," he whispered. "Good," Vera said. "But remember, this is temporary. We must find the source of the interference before the alignment is complete." Samir spent hours examining the main junction. He traced each crystalline line, noting weak points where the energy dipped. Every time he touched a line, it pulsed in response. The system seemed almost alive, intelligent, yet fragile. By mid-afternoon, he had made some progress, but the hum of the grid grew uneven again. One of the pillars flickered violently, and a small crack appeared at its base. "Another sabotage attempt," Oren muttered. Samir crouched near the crack, inspecting it closely. "It's deliberate," he said. "This wasn't caused by instability. Someone used a tool or device to weaken the crystal." Vera's eyes darkened. "Then they are closer than we thought. We must be cautious." As they prepared to leave, Samir noticed movement in the shadows beyond the platform. A figure in a dark robe slipped between pillars, vanishing before anyone could see clearly. "Did you see that?" he whispered to Oren. Oren's jaw tightened. "I did. Someone is watching, waiting for a chance. They may act tonight." Back in his chamber, Samir reviewed his notes. Every flicker, every weak point, every pulse had a pattern. He began to see how the energy flowed where it was strongest, where it was vulnerable. Suddenly, his communicator beeped. A message appeared in English, a language he had not expected to see here. "Leave before alignment, or you won't leave at all." Samir stared at the words. Someone in the palace knew he could read English. Someone was sending him a warning or a threat. He ran to Oren immediately. "Someone just sent me a message. They know I can read it. What should I do?" Oren read it quickly and frowned. "They are bold. They want you gone. But you cannot leave, not yet. The alignment must succeed, or the grid will fail." Vera entered at that moment. "What is the message?" she asked. Samir showed it to her. Vera's eyes glowed softly. "They fear the prophecy. That is why they act secretly. You must be cautious, Samir, but do not let them intimidate you. The future of our people depends on your hands." Samir nodded. The weight of responsibility pressed on him harder than ever. Not only did he have to stabilize the star-powered grid, but he also had to navigate enemies hidden among those who were supposed to serve the queen. That night, he stayed awake, listening to the hum of the palace. Every flicker of light, every distant sound, made him tense. He realized that the challenge was no longer just technical, it was also a test of patience, courage, and understanding. Outside, the twin moons reflected off the crystal spires. Samir looked at the glow and whispered to himself, "I don't even know if I'm ready for this, but I have to try." Somewhere deep in the shadows, eyes watched him. They waited, quiet and patient. Samir didn't know who they were, but he knew they would strike when he least expected it. The day of alignment arrived with a strange stillness. Samir stood in the center of the Nexus chamber, the towering crystal pillars casting long reflections across the polished floor. He carried his tools and a small scanner, his eyes scanning every line of the glowing network. The hum of energy was louder than ever, vibrating through the floor and walls. Vera arrived, her presence calm but commanding. "This is the moment," she said. "Once the alignment begins, the core will respond only to your touch. Concentrate. Listen. Do not hesitate." Samir took a deep breath. "I'll do my best." Oren and the guards positioned themselves around the chamber, keeping the space clear. Every attendant in the lower level had been asked to observe from a distance. Word of the alignment had spread quickly, and many were curious but cautious. Samir knelt before the main junction, placing his hands gently on the smooth crystal surface. Immediately, a pulse of blue light traveled through the network. The hum of energy rose into a steady tone, soft but powerful. The pillars vibrated slightly, as if recognizing him. "It's responding," Samir whispered. "Yes," Vera said softly. "But it is delicate. Even a small mistake could disrupt the entire flow." Samir focused on the lines of energy, tracing weak points with his fingers. He used his scanner to measure the pulses, adjusting minor currents and noting the changes. Slowly, the flickers that had been troubling the network began to stabilize. Suddenly, a small pillar to his left shimmered violently. The light wavered, and the hum grew irregular. Samir's pulse quickened. "Another sabotage attempt," Oren muttered. Samir didn't look up. "It's fine. I can manage it." He extended his hand, guiding the energy toward balance. The flicker subsided, and the hum returned to a steady rhythm. Vera watched closely, her eyes bright. "You are doing well," she said. "The core senses your presence. It trusts you." Samir felt a warmth in his hands, a connection he could not explain. The energy flowed through him, steady and alive. For a moment, it felt almost like he could understand the network, see the paths of power and the places where it was weak. Minutes passed, then hours. Samir worked tirelessly, adjusting currents, observing patterns, and guiding the network into alignment. The hum of the energy became a song, steady, strong, and harmonious. Then, a sudden ripple traveled through the chamber. The entire array of pillars glowed brighter, filling the room with a light that was almost blinding. Samir felt it tingling in his fingers and arms, but it was not painful. It was as if the network itself was welcoming him, recognizing him as the one it had waited for. Outside the chamber, the attendants gasped. The hum echoed through the palace, and far above in the city, lights flickered in response, then steadied. It was working. The grid was stabilizing. But just as Samir felt a sense of relief, the floor vibrated sharply. A loud metallic clatter echoed from the shadows. Someone had tried to interfere again. Samir kept his hands on the crystal, focusing. "Not now," he muttered. The energy pulsed under his fingers, stronger and steadier. He adjusted the flow slightly, and the disturbance faded. Whoever had tried to sabotage the system had failed. Vera stepped closer. "You are extraordinary," she whispered. "I knew from the first moment I saw you." Samir shook his head. "I'm just listening." Hours later, as the twin moons began to rise higher in the sky, the alignment reached its peak. The network glowed uniformly, every pillar shimmering in perfect synchronization. The hum of energy was steady, harmonious, and strong. Samir stood back, exhausted but exhilarated. He had done it. For the first time in centuries, the Nexus chamber was fully aligned. Vera approached, bowing slightly. "You have done what no one else could. The grid is stable." Your presence has saved my people. Samir smiled faintly, still catching his breath. I just followed the energy. But even as the celebration began, he noticed a faint pulse in the chamber, a signal being transmitted outward. The light in the main junction shifted, forming patterns he did not recognize. Samir, Vera said softly, noticing his gaze. What is it? I don't know, he admitted. But it looks like it's sending something, off-world. Oren frowned. Perhaps it is a message from the creators of the network, he said. Something we have not seen before. Samir studied the patterns, feeling a strange sense of familiarity. It's waiting for a response, he said quietly. Outside the palace, the city lights shone steadily for the first time in weeks. The people of Zoran stepped into the streets, cheering and celebrating the restored energy. Yet Samir felt a mix of relief and curiosity. The alignment had succeeded, but the signal hinted at a mystery beyond this planet, a secret that had been waiting for centuries. Vera placed her hand on his shoulder. Whatever comes next, she said, we face it together. You have earned my trust, and the trust of my people. Samir nodded. Then let's see what the signal wants. I have a feeling the adventure isn't over yet. The hum of the Nexus chamber continued, steady and strong, carrying their success and the first whisper of a new journey into the stars. The night after the alignment, the Nexus chamber was quiet. Samir stood at the center, staring at the crystal panel. The light patterns were still pulsing, but now they seemed to form a message, something deliberate, something intelligent. Vera approached him, her golden eyes glowing softly. The signal continues, she said. It seems to reach beyond our world. Samir nodded. Yes. And I think it's waiting for a response. I don't know what it's trying to say, but it feels familiar, like I've seen it before in a dream or memory. Oren joined them, looking concerned. Whatever it is ancient. Older than my people's records. The creators of this network may have left a message for the one who could restore it. Samir ran his hands over the smooth surface of the crystal. So. I'm part of something much bigger than I thought. Not just saving your grid, but connecting worlds. Vera's expression softened. You have given my people hope. And now, perhaps, you will give us knowledge that was lost long ago. Without warning, the floor beneath the main junction began to hum louder than before. The light patterns on the crystal pulsed faster, forming a swirling spiral that expanded outward. Samir felt the vibration in his hands, in his arms, even in his chest. Suddenly, a beam of light shot upward from the chamber, piercing the sky. Outside, citizens of Zoran looked up, shielding their eyes from the brilliance. And then, far above the atmosphere, a massive starship appeared, descending slowly toward the planet. Oren gasped. That is impossible. No fleet has approached undetected. Vera's eyes widened. It is not hostile. Look at the markings, it carries the emblem of the first explorers, the ones who visited this world centuries ago. Samir stepped back in disbelief. You mean, humans? Yes, Vera said quietly. Long ago, your ancestors traveled here, guiding our early development. Their records mention a signal, a message to be sent to the one who would restore the Nexus. The starship landed gracefully outside the palace. A ramp extended, and a small team of humans emerged, dressed in sleek uniforms that shimmered under Zoran's twin moons. They carried devices and data crystals, symbols of knowledge lost to time. Samir's heart raced. They came because of me. Vera nodded. Yes. You are the heir of the signal. Not because of power or skill, but because your life pattern matches the ancient design left by your people. That is why I knelt when I first saw you. Samir struggled to process it. A simple engineer from Earth, now a bridge between two civilizations. I never expected any of this. One of the humans approached him, holding a data crystal. "Samir," she said, "our ancestors designed this network with a key. Only someone with your unique genetic pattern could stabilize it and receive the message we left. You are the reason we could finally return." Vera placed a hand on Samir's shoulder, her voice soft. "You see? You were always part of something greater. Your presence fulfills a promise made long before our people knew you." Samir looked at the starship, then at Vera and Oren, and finally back at the Nexus chamber. "So, what happens now?" The human from the ship smiled. "We share knowledge. We teach what was lost. And we ensure that the signal, the network, and your people are protected for generations to come." Vera turned to her council, who had gathered cautiously at the edge of the chamber. "This is not just about power," she said. "It is about understanding. It is about building a future with respect, trust, and knowledge. And Samir has shown us the way." Samir felt a warmth in his chest, pride, but also humility. He had fixed the grid, survived sabotage, and now helped connect two worlds. All he had done was follow the energy, listen to the network, and trust himself. The council members bowed, slowly and carefully. Some still looked uncertain, but they could not deny the truth. The human before them had restored what their ancestors could not, and the signal had brought knowledge back to them. Outside, the starship opened its cargo bay, revealing archives of data and tools for the people of Zoran. The city lights glowed steadily, brighter than ever before. Samir watched, amazed at what had been accomplished. Vera looked at him, her golden eyes softening. "From now on, our worlds are connected. You have bridged time, space, and species. Your name will be remembered here, not as a ruler, but as a friend and protector." Samir smiled faintly. "I never wanted fame. I just wanted to fix things. I guess fixing things can sometimes change the universe." The Queen nodded. "Sometimes, the smallest hands hold the greatest power." As the humans began sharing knowledge with the Zoran scientists and engineers, Samir stepped back and watched the twin moons reflect off the city's glowing spires. For the first time, he felt at peace. He had arrived as a stranger, a simple engineer, and now he was part of a history that spanned stars. The Nexus chamber hummed steadily, the crystal pillars shining bright and strong. And somewhere in the stars beyond, the signal continued not as a warning, but as a message of hope, waiting for the next human to answer it. Samir took a deep breath, smiled, and whispered to himself, "I wonder what other messages are out there."